That was The Avengers, Marvel's The Avengers, and that's going to be coming out this Thursday.
Thursday night, Friday.
Yeah,
you know.
a couple of midnight showings popping up here and there.
Yeah.
This has been a big planning event for Marvel. But before we go into the history of the movies and everything like that, I'd like to just touch base on the characters because there's a lot of history going into this, as I said. So let's start with my favorite. We're not going to go by box office gross here. We're going to go by who deserves to be talked about the most. So we're going to start with Captain America, a.k.a. Steve Rogers. And the original history of this character, starting way, way back, first Avenger, is Steve Rogers, kid with polio, signs up for an experiment, and they make a super soldier out of him. And then the Nazis sabotage the experiment, and he is the only relic from that experiment. Yeah. And then he goes on to be a symbol of the wartime effort, not only just being a fighter, but also a defender and just, saver, and he's got Bucky at his side. So, that's just, classic Americana for me at this point now. It's something wholesome about our past. The need to fight, but also to still maintain your humanity and the capacity to be a hero even in the worst of times. So, obviously, loving that. Next, let's go to Bruce Banner, Hulk. Not really too much to say about it. I think this is pretty much, going Hulk is pretty much part of the pop culture. Talk about something that just seeped in, despite not having really any vehicles, and, no one could probably name you a major Hulk villain. But the character is just emblematic of just raging out, and people just immediately identify with it. And there's been several iterations of him over the time, but they're sticking with the green in this one, so I like to see that.
Yeah.
Let's go to Tony Stark, a.k.a. Iron Man, who's been made famous most recently by Robert Downey Jr. But this character actually has his roots more in, the Vietnam War era, where he was captured, and he has a heart defect. In order to escape, he creates this suit that helps him escape, and they've added the heart thing over the line. But the big thing about this character that I've always loved is just how flawed he is, despite being a billionaire, and they throw that in there, billionaire, genius, playboy, philanthropist.
Right.
But the thing that I always love about him is that how flawed he is, because his genius also comes with he's a severe alcoholic. He's never known his parents. One of the most flawed characters probably in the Marvel universe, who's in the higher ups in the Avengers.
Right.
And then finally, we're just going to stick to the big four here.
Yeah.
So let's go ahead. Who am I missing?
Thor,
right.
God of Thunder.
Yeah, Thor. Again, one of those characters, he's had several iterations. He's been an actual god. He's been mutant, crazy guy, everything.
Yeah.
But they've just thrown, and they kind of covered all that in the movie, which you're going to go to real quick.
Yeah.
So do you want to just start with Thor, since actually his guy Loki is going to be the main villain for this movie?
We'll start with Thor. Yeah, Thor being played by Chris Hemsworth came out about a year ago. This time, I want to say I think it was the first movie in May last year.
Really? Wow. All right.
But yeah, Thor. There's so many different ways he's kind of interpreted. In this one, they do this it's a parallel universe, where they're other people.
The Valhalla actually exists. Yeah. And they have a domain that is connected to.
So he's
Earth.
not a god that reigns over people directly, like most people think of as a god, in the Roman gods or the Greek gods, but more of a more smarter, intelligent being.
More like Mount Olympus is a separate dimension rather than a place on Earth.
Right, yeah. And of course, this guy is a Norse god.
Yeah.
Not Roman or Greek.
Yeah, I'm just using the metaphor for identifying.
I know. I just want to make sure people
definitely know.
But Chris Hemsworth, which we've talked about in Cabin in the Woods, I think he's a good actor, and he's buffed out for this role, and I think he plays that character very well. There's definitely Thor. He had that ego, which Thor is known to have.
Well, he's a god.
Yeah.
But then he gets humility.
Yeah.
That's what makes him a hero later on, is his humility.
Yeah. And I think Chris Hemsworth has played that very well. And then we're going backwards.
Hold on.
Loki.
Let's touch on Loki real quick, because he's going to be big in this movie.
Yeah. Played by Tom Hiddleston.
Yeah, who plays the role excellent, and I think he almost carried Thor.
Yeah.
He really carried that movie.
It's definitely one of those movies
the
where
villain made it. And if you haven't seen Thor and you're going to go to see Avengers, you're going to be missing out on a lot. So please go see Thor just for the history going into this movie, because the character of Loki is actually done very well, and the brotherhood battle that they have going there is very interesting and well developed.
Well, what's the interesting thing about that is, as Thor in the movie Thor brought up, Loki is not a blood brother of Thor. He's actually a frost giant, which is something you have to go see the movie for. But he's an adopted son, But he was raised along Thor. But if you look at Loki, Loki's the thin guy, he's thin and
sickly
slender,
looking,
and sickly looking.
Anemic.
Where Thor is the big buff guy. So they in their relationship is played off of that, that kind of.
And not only that, but they constantly refer to Loki, which he's the trickster. He's supposed to be the god of playing tricks and mischief and everything like that. And it's subtle, but they play to it very well because they don't actually identify Thor as the god of lightning. He is just Thor.
Well, god of thunder.
Yeah, god of thunder. Excuse me. And
think of Zeus.
yeah. I'm sorry, it's all the lightning bolts and from the hammer.
Yeah.
Because you can't see thunder.
Yeah.
And Loki, they don't identify them as such, but they definitely play to those character archetypes.
Yeah. And then I guess working backwards now to
Iron Man.
To Iron Man.
Which has its whole series.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, Iron Man 1 came out, and then you had Incredible Hulk, then you had Iron Man 2, and then you had Thor, and then you had Captain America.
Which the interesting thing is, all these movies that we're seeing, these were all done under the banner of Marvel Studios, which was created basically to make Iron Man. That was it was made on the foundations of that movie.
No, to make Avengers. They all thought.
No. I'm saying Iron Man is what built this up. Like everything hinged on the success of Iron Man.
Right.
And about it for a comic book movie, kind of a sleeper hit. Like everyone didn't really know what to expect. And
because Iron Man is not as such the big Marvel character. I mean, X-Men, Spider-Man.
He is now, though.
Yeah, Iron Man now is. Yeah, but he's done They had the cartoon in the early '90s as well as the X-Men cartoon, the Spider-Man cartoon. But Iron Man's never been a pop culture icon. He is now, and I think played excellently by Robert Downey Jr.
Yes.
And a lot of people talk about actors like, oh, Robert Jr. is just playing Robert Downey Jr. And maybe you could say that. I mean, he does play some type of character like that in Sherlock Holmes, but
which came after it, though.
Yeah, it came after it. But if you look at like his role in Tropic Thunder, which I know is a comedy, but he played a Australian actor, like an award-winning actor, who's playing a black soldier in the Vietnam War. And if you watch the movie closely, you'll see that from the excerpts at the beginning of the movie of the Australian actor by himself, and then when you see him playing the black soldier, you'll see the way he stands. And he does not stand like what you would typify an African American in the '60s, like very strong-willed. He stands dainty-like, which is almost pointing to the Australian actor that's underneath. And I thought that is superbly done by an actor.
He's a good actor, and he's one of those guys who gets completely caught up in his roles. I mean, a little bit of history. I mean, he's had some problems in the past, but some of that comes directly out of movies that he's done. Like he won't talk about Less Than Zero, because that was kind of what led to his first downfall.
Yeah, and I think that's in this point in Tropic Thunder, he was pointing at himself and other actors that get too actively involved in the lifestyle and character being. And
it becomes ridiculous.
Yes.
But for Iron Man.
Yeah, for Iron Man, thank you. He just plays that playboy, that sarcasm, that arrance.
And he has the delivery. He had good lines going in, but they weren't lines that anyone could just sell.
Yeah.
Which was interesting, like when he grabs the drink. Yeah, we're throwing one of these in with a purchase of $500 million or more.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that was which was in the Iron Man trailer, which I think just sold that character. And then
it's a piece.
Exactly. It's just there's an arrogance, an egotistic narcissism.
And not only that, but it also you see the twinge of sadness, like that solitary genius, which he brings to the character.
Yeah.
And so I'm not saying Iron Man being put to the forefront is a bad thing. The character's definitely paid his dues. The movie has definitely paid his dues and brought the character to the forefront. I as a fan, though, I am sad to see Cap kind of fall the wayside.
Well, you say that, but I'm going to get to Captain America in a second, but I just want to say that Captain America is the leader of the Avengers. And that was one of the biggest issues, is that since Iron Man was the first movie, and he's played up so much, he has his own sequel already, that maybe it might be hard to see Captain America being the leader since people know Iron Man.
And not only that, Thor's in the battle now, too, because his movie did decently well, and his villain is the guy leading the movie. So you have this three-way of who's in charge.
Yeah, exactly. And from what the trailer looks like, that's played out.
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
And going back to Incredible Hulk, which has had more recently a very hard film take.
Yeah, I mean, you got Ang Lee's attempt at it with Eric Bana did fine. I just can't stand to see shot and shot and shot and shot. Can we do that right up there? Just we'll throw you up and then me up at a different time, and then no, we're not going to do that. Don't worry. And then you have the Edward Norton iteration, which came out,
which I think was done really well because it didn't even do the origin story, because everyone knows the origin story from the '70s television show.
It seemed like they were just acknowledging the Eric Bana one, and they're like, "Listen, we're just going to jump forward."
No. Actually, it's not even that. They weren't even acknowledging that timeline. It was a reboot, which we're having reboots with Spider-Man. We're having reboots with Fantastic Four coming out soon, and I think that's what great. And Edward Norton also wrote that script for that Incredible Hulk. Like he was one of the co-writers, and that's one of the reasons why he's not in the Avengers. He wanted to write the Avengers, and Joss Whedon was like, "No, I'm writing it."
Yeah,
but there was a conflict because Edward Norton, as I've heard a lot of things, is he's got kind of a big ego.
Well,
you know,
graduated from Yale, and he is a
Yeah.
good actor.
Oh, yeah,
I'll
he
give him
is.
that.
And he
But-
does write if you look at the movies, he does write. They are good.
and he, I think he was trying. He was expecting a favor because he threw them a favor, which they said he left the ending to the Incredible Hulk very ambiguous intentionally, so that the Hulk could be used as either hero or villain in the Avengers movie.
Right.
And so he wanted that ambiguity at the end, and
Yeah.
so he's like, I'm kind of throwing you a favor.
Yeah.
Why don't you let me in? And Joss Whedon's like, got it, all set, bud.
yeah, which is understandable,
Yeah.
and we'll get to Joss Whedon in a second. But I think, from what we've seen, the new Incredible Hulk being played by Mark Ruffalo, which I think is
Also a brilliant actor.
a brilliant actor that gets understated. Like, just watch Zodiac. I think
and
Zodiac's
also
a good-
the kids are all right, which
Right.
was his big comeback after being gone for a long time due to illness.
Yeah.
And I think he went back to an Academy Award nomination right after
Right.
that. At least the film did.
Yeah.
And
And I think he plays, from the trailers, he looks like he plays the character like as almost like a wise traveler, which I always felt like Bruce Banner was.
well, he has to be. Yes,
Yeah.
he's always under the radar. And not only that, but the interesting thing is you have this wise traveler, but also the only person that Tony Stark seems to respect on the team.
Yeah, maybe because he is a scientist.
No, because he is a genius. And
Yeah.
they even, in the first trailer, if you go back to the first variant of the trailer, he goes, "Oh, Dr. Banner, your work is unparalleled, and I love the way you turned into that giant green rage monster."
Yeah.
But like, he's still snarky to him, but there is respect.
Yeah, and I think also like there's a part in this trailer we just watched where he says we're not a team, we're a
time bomb.
Time bomb.
Yeah.
And I think that he being the fourth member, because it's not Bruce Banner that's necessarily the fourth member, it's the Hulk.
Yeah.
But he's able to like stand outside of this
Step back and look
ego
back
and
in.
say this isn't going to work.
Yeah.
You know.
But he has to acknowledge, he has to plan ahead even more,
Right.
because he knows what he's going to become.
Right.
They're counting on him turning into this
Right.
violent beast, and they're like, if you're counting on this, that's a horrible plan.
Yeah.
Because I'm just throwing that out there. If you're
Yeah.
counting on the Hulk, that's not a plan.
Yeah.
And let's go to Captain America real quick, and then we'll get onto the casting.
Yeah, Captain America being played by Chris Evans. A lot of people were really like, this isn't going to work. This isn't going to work. Oh no, Chris Evans can't play. He's the Human Torch. Oh, he's that kind of, because the thing about it, the characters he's played in a lot of movies, other than just the Fantastic Four, he's always a playboy type person, like a Tony Stark.
Well, not even playboy, like really cocky, almost like back to being a teenager type
Right,
stuff.
yeah.
That's like
But
football quarterback
But
stuff.
he is, like, if you watch him in the movie Puncture, which came out last year, I think,
Yeah.
and the movie London, which I referenced last week with Jason Statham. Well, I didn't reference it, but I threw up the poster because I couldn't remember the name of it. He does serious acting very well. And the thing is when you watch him in Captain America, he plays, I think it's great because they started the movie him very thin and sickly looking, which helped build into Chris Evans' performance of Captain America. I know I don't think you appreciate him as much as I do.
No, I have no problem with Chris Evans. My problem with the movie legitimately was just with the character development itself, things that they did with the character in order to make it more palatable, like putting a gun in his hand. I mean,
Right.
they had to make it realistic, and then something that Disney has done with every movie since they took over the Marvel franchise, the song and dance sequence and the montage, which I'm not a big fan of, especially when they're not done properly. But I digress on that.
Yeah, but I think Chris Evans also brought like a humanness to the Marvel universe.
Well, he's
More
also
like Bruce Banner had.
I mean, not for nothing. And Chris Evans, I mean, he's popular in everything he does. I mean,
Yeah.
women like him. Guys seem to, even like him. It's like, like he's a guy you could hang out with. And not only that, he played it so down to earth.
Yeah, he did. It was like a real, like, from the soul. What do they call it, Soul of the Earth or something like that?
Salt of the earth.
Salt of the Earth. Yeah, and he felt like he was like a real person, not just this like egotistical person like he plays in some other movies.
Yeah, and I like the whole idea that they threw in there about him over and over again trying to get in, because that was something that the original character was trying to do. He was like, I will be part of this war effort no matter what. He goes, I have no right to give any less than anyone else.
Right.
And it's kind of leading into this. I mean, the movie felt rushed to get to the Avengers, but he's there, and that's the important thing.